In the town of Gordonsville, North Carolina, there once lived a farmer named Farmer Bean. Farmer Bean was known around town as a nice sort of guy, the type of guy to meet you at church on Sunday and give you a rose and say, "You're making the Lord proud, young man." Well, this guy, one night, something happened to him on his farm out in the sticks of North Carolina, something that he never recovered from. It was the night he saw them, the dancers, their flitting bodies in the trees. But I'm getting ahead of myself. So one night, he was out walking the fields, fertilizing his crop and his cows, when he saw lights in the distance, a yellow haze pulsating on the tree line over his house. Well, he grabbed his shotgun and he went right out there. What he found, he would never recover from. What he found, at first he saw them. He saw the teens, the young men and the young women, the college-age students, wearing leather and chrome visors and bracelets and glow sticks, and they danced and they pulsated to the beat. It was an abandoned shack, and they were having the rave of North Carolina, where anything is allowed. Well, farmer guy was about to kill all the kids for going against the Bible, but someone said, "Hey, here, take this and put it in your mouth." And he did it without thinking, because he's a Christian man and he's told to do that all the time. And then he said, "What was that?" as his world started to melt. And it was then he realized he was on acid. After that point, nothing was the same for him. He floated through the party like a mad jackal, looking for any bright lights and pulsating bodies that he could. He danced. He did the Watusi. He took off his shirt, and he wore it like underwear. Well, his pants were off, too. He was hog wild in North Carolina. He pulsated and rhythmed all night. He transcended into the another dimension plane, the plane of music and sound and sweat and horchata, and he would dance there forevermore. His mother woke up the next morning with his wife, because they sleep in the same room, and they looked for him, and they never saw him again. The farmer had found his true calling. And so begins the long, untold story of Clocktorius and the clock tower of Union. Clocktorius was a young man who had a real skill for clocks on his own world, but then one day when he was out in the barn, he was cleaning up his clocks. He was fixing the knobs, he was fixing the sockets, and he was fixing the rondels. He heard a rumbling outside, and there in the sky was a gigantic, yellow, rigid clock. It floated above his farm, and it shot down a clock beam at his grandpa's house. His grandpa was his only family, and his family was dead now. They exploded. Clocktorius said, "No! Daddy!" It sucked him out right through the barn roof, and his cow Bessie was hurt, and he never saw her again. On the world of the clock tower, with its evil clock and stock soldiers, the clock and stock soldiers were like mechanical men that walked around with clock like pointers in their hands, and out it shot numbers at you, and if you got hit by it, you died as though time had passed and you turned to dust. Everyone on the planet was a clock slave like Clocktorius, and they all worked on the clock tower of Union. It was a gigantic ticking clock in their world, and Clocktorius, he had to clean the number one every day for 12 hours, and then he had to sleep for 12 hours because that's what they told you to do, and time is important on this world. But one day, Clocktorius heard a noise on the other side of the one. For one, it made a hollow bum, bum. And Clocktorius said, hello? Oh, and then the story ended. Kriegen, Geigen und Schnitzelfriegel, Super Heiner Toastfiegel Mischnesen, Sig ein Dugenlein schreiben, Gesteuerten Entity ein Fitzvierter ein Krankelschnitt. Gut, person. Ja, ist ein Krieg. Mein Unterweger und es in Hospital. Ein Bibliotheker und ein Kriegensteinen. Stiegen, Flurgen, Dugen, Dugel. Kriegen, Gorben, Flurgen, Sneagel. Ja, ist ein Mutter. Mein Mutter ist gut. It was a normal night, just like any night on the highway. The highway outside the town that had been left behind by oil. In this little pit stop, Smokey Joe's pit stop and ribs, sat two old friends. The passing cars quivered in the night as these two old friends caught up and reveled each other with their stories of past deeds. But all was not well. As one of them ordered eggs, the other ordered pancakes. But he knew the other one didn't like pancakes. So the one that knew this, his name was Kevin Randy. Kevin Randy said, "Oi, Jim Bob, what you doing there? I know you don't like them pancakes, boy." And Jim Bob said, "I do not know what you mean, Kevin Randall." At that point, they stood up in their seats, and Kevin Randall said, "Oi, Jim Bob, what you doing, you dirty skunk?" And Jim Bob, he levitated out of his seat, an alien look in his eyes, as he slowly morphed into a silver alien. He became James. His normal eyes turned into black, gaping holes. His skin turned gray, and he began to shrivel. His flannel fell off of him, and he looked like a little Gresham boy, alien size. And he pointed at his friend Kevin Randall and said, Kevin Randall ran. Everyone screamed in the last pit saloon as the alien pivoted, shooting a death ray. And that's the last anyone saw at that place. And Kevin Randall was never heard from again. Rest in peace. Space fleet log. Jim Sterling Henson on the USS Transpiry. It's my 50th day in space, and I don't know where I'm gonna go. And log. Next day. Today, the ship fell out of the sky, and I was like, oh shit. And now I'll switch to the third person for an easier telling. Captain Jim Sterling Jensen got out of the ship. Around him was normal flora and fauna, but there was an inordinate amount of balls. Literal balls, circular, spherical shapes. He pulled out his harmonica and hummed to himself to keep his spirits up. And then the balls started to roll towards him. Captain Guy ran. He ran. he kept trilling on his harmonica to try to calm himself down, and then he encountered a shape in the distance, a slightly triangular body with normal feet and legs, but at the top, instead of a head, at the top of the head, there was just an opening, a gigantic conical throat hole with a person's tongue in it, and it said, and that's when Dave knew he was on another planet. Dave knew that this was going to be dangerous for him. But he saw the balls were coming for him. He saw the balls, and he saw the throat people, and they said, and Dave, he knew what to do. He kicked the balls. He kicked them hard, he kicked them far, and the people were amazed. They said, how could he have done this? And then, because they didn't have lips, Dave pulled out his harmonica. He twiddled a little twee and dawdled a little D, and they were amazed. Their savior from the balls, their savior from the lips, with lips. He used his lips to satisfy this people. And from that day, Dave never wanted to go home to Earth again. Dave lived with the Throatles, as he dubbed them, and they sang him ululations, and it was like, but no one could do the harmonica. The harmonica was the captain's element, and forever in their memory, he was remembered as the Harmonica King, the coolest man in history of this small little town. God bless America.